Off, I'm delighted to hand over to the SMMT's Chief Executive, Mike Hawes. Mike.
Thanks very much, Daisy, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we unveil the trade figures for the UK automotive industry for 2020. Now, in recent years, this has often been done with a sense of triumph, celebration, self-congratulation even. But 2020 was a year like no other, with a global pandemic, the like of which has not been seen for over a century. As the virus spread, markets were closed, production shut down, trade became stilted. As we publish the numbers for 2020, therefore, we do so with, at best, a sense of relief. And more importantly, we make the case for relief. An industry that usually reports almost £100 billion worth of trade each year managed just three-quarters of that, still at a not inconsequential £74 billion. We remain the makers of the UK's most valuable exported goods, the second most important goods export sector, outperforming even pharmaceuticals and gold at a time of a pandemic. In any other era, COVID would be an epoch-defining event, one to be negotiated, survived with a singular focus. But in our era, it is just one of three: COVID, the UK's departure from the single market, and of course, the need to address climate change. Now, that last one alone demands the biggest revolution in automotive history, certainly since the invention of the internal combustion engine. But rather than reflect on our undoubted resilience in a hostile environment, our focus must be on how we create more benign trading conditions. Our strength is being tested, and we need to strengthen for the tests ahead. Free trade, whatever our own industrial political perspectives, we have to adapt to new trading arrangements that had to be implemented quickly and in a time of ongoing uncertainty. The EU is and will remain our most important market, followed by the US. Indeed, proportionally, our dependence on Europe may actually grow in the short term as changes in the structure of the UK production base adjust and manufacturers deal with the uneven and staccato nature of the global pandemic. But trade with the EU remains paramount, and the conditions we trade in needs to be a matter of constant vigilance. This is more than just about tariffs. It's about the regulatory requirements and the frameworks that lie behind them. We must be aligned to avoid complexity and cost. Free trade agreements with the rest of the world are welcome, but they must be fair, free, and balanced. Rules of origin, for instance, must take account of existing strengths and existing relationships. They must not bar our route to market. New deals can often reflect national and industrial policy, but they must remain fair and avoid the creation of behind-the-border tariffs. Import tariffs are one thing, specific local luxury vehicle taxes are another. If protectionism, intended or consequential, is to be avoided, we need to protect free trade. Europe is also no longer the unfettered talent pool it once was, so we must be allowed to seek talent from around the world. Indeed, the UK must become a hub of global talent through a long-term vision for growth rather than short-term visas in a crisis. The pandemic could not be predicted, but governments around the world admit they could have been better prepared. Some of its effects were obviously unexpected, but the industry too must learn from the experience, adapt, anticipate and prepare. We are facing a global shortage in semiconductors, for instance, and this has hit our industry and other industries really hard. Now, we will always seek the best quality, the best price from suppliers around the globe, but the current shortage of semiconductors has exposed weaknesses in that global supply chain. Resilience is becoming more important, and alongside new agreements that diversify our international supply base, there's a strong case for investing in more local production here in the UK, all the time assuring quality, price and innovation. So with markets that are open, fair, regulations aligned, talent attracted and resources at home strengthened, we can face the third great disruptor and perhaps the greatest of them all, meeting the demands of climate change. To quote the Prime Minister, who in turn showed us familiarity with 1970s TV shows, by quoting the $6 million man, we have the technology. What we need is investment, the framework and the capacity to trade freely and to deliver that technology, because the UK can be a leader in this technological transition. But we need to be participants, not commentators, not spectators as policy is decided, but actual players. Determining the framework, determining the structures, determining the future. We might have not have been able to predict the effects of COVID, but we know what the effects of government and global policy can be. Negotiations are detailed and sensitive. We understand the detail, and despite the strength we have shown in the toughest of times, we also know the sensitivities. Some years are foundations to be built upon. 2020 is one to be built from. One storm has abated, 2 more must be negotiated. And the automotive industry, one of the UK's greatest industries, I believe, must be at the heart of those negotiations. Thank you very much.